I'd rather show you the pictures.
So you're the lead anchor tonight at Gay Town Hall.
Yes, it's going to be a good Gay Town Hall.
Yes, I love.
It's all about my birthday.
Yeah, well, I didn't quite remember. Yes, I guess technically true. And Tony Lima is with us again tonight, covering for Ryan Young because a vampire bit him in the neck.
Apparently. Did you see those photos?
I did.
My God.
I told
Poor
him.
Ryan.
I said to him, I love a good vampire story too, but that was taking it a little too far. And if you're interested in finding out what we're talking about, just reach out to Ryan Young.
Yeah, look him up on Facebook.
Or Facebook. Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 7 p.m. Thursday, March 11th, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
The world's first live daily queer evening news show. Out of the closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is an unedited, live LGBTQ evening news show. Whatever happens, you're going to see it.
This evening, we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ community from South Florida, America, and across our world.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and tonight we welcome anchor Dr. Ty Hauser. He is an associate professor of English and Humanities at Broward College. Additionally, he teaches for extended periods of time in international colleges in China, India, Spain, and Bolivia. He also serves as our progressive college professor host on Happening Out Television Network's discussion and debate show, Gay Town Hall, alive every Thursday night and tonight at 8 p.m. Good evening, Ty.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here.
Well, next, let's welcome anchor Tony Lima. Third time this week, Tony. It's kind of a record. He is the chief operating officer of Ariana's Center, Trans Latina Florida, that engages, empowers, and lifts up the trans community as the only direct service and advocacy organization based in South Florida, led by a trans Latina openly living with HIV. He is also a longtime South Florida LGBTQ activist, advocate, and political operative, as well as a seasoned communicator, marketer, and fundraiser. Good evening, Tony.
Good evening, Al. 3 times is the charm, apparently, so I'm happy to be here with you again.
Especially on keto. That's
on keto, yes.
Keto. All right, well, tonight we begin with the queer headlines. As you know, the LGBTQ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Thursday, March 11th. We begin by queering up breaking Q news. Biden says BFD again, and what that means to the LGBTQ community. This evening, President Biden will mark the 1-year anniversary of the COVID-19 pandemic in his first national address. So we remind you what then Vice President Biden said to President Obama on live television 11 years ago, almost to this day. Watch this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Many in the LGBTQ community celebrated Biden's candor over the passage of Obamacare that dramatically affected the access of LGBTQ Americans to health care. Who could have possibly dreamed that 11 years later, Biden could again say, "This is a big fucking deal." Yesterday, his signature $1.9 trillion COVID-19 pandemic passed, and on the 1-year anniversary of America's shutdown due to pandemic. On the March 11th, 2021, 1-year anniversary of its happening out, breaking the news of dramatic effects coming for the LGBTQ community.
No one knew that a host of It's Happening Out was likely already infected with COVID-19 and would likely infect other anchors. Ron Bernesky would be admitted to a Miami hospital and days later to ICU and respirator. Our broadcast host would never leave the hospital and dies alone. In ICU 40 days later, no one was allowed to visit him.
So today, March 11th, 2021, is a big fucking deal. The pandemic relief bill will provide direct unemployment benefits and extensions to the LGBTQ community. It will provide new access to reduced cost healthcare. It provides dramatic support of LGBTQ small business and especially hospitality, LGBTQ small business of bars, restaurants, travel, and entertainment sectors.
This is the largest direct LGBTQ support benefit in history. Of importance is that this bill supports every American directly in the lowest 75% of income earning individuals and families. Contrast that to the 2017 Trump tax cuts that spent almost the same amount of money, largely only to benefit the top 15% of America's wealthiest individuals.
The new bill has widespread bipartisan support. A new Gallup poll indicates 75% of all Americans support the COVID relief bill, while only 18% oppose it. The bill, however, did not receive a single Republican vote in the House or the Senate. Today, for the LGBTQ community, 1 year later, things are going to improve for all of us. So it truly is a big fucking deal.
It's also a big fucking deal that none of the Republicans voted for it. If this is what America wants, and it clearly is, it's important that the Republicans start to figure that out and step up their game.
I'm just still a little shocked that we keep on saying fucking on the show over and over and over. But that's just me. But agreed. I mean, it's about time, and it's time that we continue to support everyone in this country to hopefully get out of this pandemic together.
You know, I love the embracement of this story showing Biden's candid remarks to President Obama. Remember the controversy of that 11 years ago? It really showed you what was the making of Biden. Now as president, he has already, this is the 51st day of being president of the United States, and he has already in the first 51 days done more for the LGBTQ community than any politician. Wait, I was going to say in the United States? No, I'm not going to say that. On this planet. Amazing. Totally amazing.
Great. Next, we're going to queer up education. Christian Trump supporters yell vulgar slurs at trans kids attending Florida school board meeting. After Florida's Brevard Public Schools sent out guidelines on how LGBTQ students should be treated under state and federal laws, the religious right, Trump supporters, and far-right politicians were outraged. They posted on social media and organized a protest for the next school board meeting where they planned to testify during the public comment portion. What they didn't expect was a determined group of students and parents ready to defend the policy. When the two groups met outside the building, Florida Today reports it sparked, quote, heated exchanges and a vitriolic display of homophobic and transphobic bigotry, end quote. The Trump supporters can be seen holding signs with unique phrases like straight and proud and Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Yay! The MAGA crowd called the students queers and pedophiles. As students, including trans students, entered the building, you hear vulgar slurs against them. In the end, not a single student spoke in opposition to the policy, and more than double the number of speakers supported the LGBTQ civil rights that more than double supported it than opposed it.
This is one of those stories that hits me specifically close to home because I work for one of the top trans organizations in this country. What's important is that we continue the education, we continue to fight whenever, especially at the local level, things like this continue to happen. We've discussed on the show week and week and week again about how this is the new plot from the conservatives to find a wedge to divide us. So we have to fight that continuously.
Yeah, and I can hear the empathy and the hurt in your observations, Tony. I invite people, we would have shown the sound of that video, except unfortunately it wasn't filmed in high enough quality to be able to do it. But I encourage you to go and look at this on Facebook, because you will be shocked of these students that are in single file because of COVID restrictions, walking into the building with Trumpsters on both sides of them with horrific signs, chanting and throwing slurs at them. It was just horrifying to listen to and to watch.
It's one of the reasons that I love working with young people, because I see in them every day the progress that we're making as a culture and as a country. And, you know, kind of as the old white guys like Al start to off themselves, we're going to really have a progressive group of students who support each other.
All
and
right,
that's
it's
great.
on now. It's on.
I have no comment, but I'm smiling quite big. Next, we queer up gay culture. Here are the states LGBTQ people have the longest and shortest life expectancies, according to CDC. Spoiler alert, LGBTQ South Florida. In the last moments of this story, Queer News Tonight is going to tell you how long you are going to live.
Oh, wow.
Interesting new data released today shows if you're LGBTQ and born in the South, chances are you'll have a shorter life expectancy compared with the rest of the United States. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported today. The findings, published in the National Vital Statistics Reports, examined state-level mortality and population estimates from 2018, as well as state-specific death and population figures for older Medicare beneficiaries that year.
The CDC found that Americans are expected to live an average of 78.7 years, though women were more likely to outlive men by 5 years nationwide, according to the report. States in the South fared worse when compared with their northeastern and western counterparts. LGBTQ living in West Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, South Carolina, and Missouri all ranked in the bottom 10 states for life expectancy. LGBTQ in West Virginia ranked the lowest and live 4 years less than the average rest of us.
What LGBTQ state are you likely to live the longest? Congratulations to Hawaii. You will likely live 3 years longer than the rest of us and 7 years longer than West Virginia. The Aloha State was followed by California, New York, Minnesota, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Washington, Colorado, New Jersey, and Rhode Island to round out the top 10 LGBTQ states where you'll live the longest.
The CDC's latest life expectancy figures come about a month after the agency published a provisional report in February that found life expectancy during the COVID pandemic fell by a year in the first half of 2020, the biggest decline since World War II. According to that report, the CDC's predictions of life expectancy for Americans at birth in 2020 is now 77.8 years. LGBTQ South Florida. In case you are curious, while Florida is about in the middle as a state, Miami-Fort Lauderdale Metroplex has among the top city life expectancies in America, nearly 3 years longer than national average.
And that, of course, is because, Al, we put your current age into that calculation, and we just saw the average go up by like 6 years. It's amazing. Really.
What are you smiling about, Tony?
I'm really enjoying this, Al, because I'm the one that's usually at the end of your jokes.
Yeah.
So this is great. I'm just going to sit here and let Ty trample you over for days.
Yeah.
How's that?
I'm on my best behavior this evening. Take advantage of it. It's an interesting report. Of course, Hawaii makes sense if you think about it. West Virginia also makes sense. But I think one of the interesting things is, let's draw the correlation. Thank you. Correlation to red states, which are predominantly in the South, LGBT rights, trans response, and also life expectancy, which has lots to do with healthcare quality, healthcare access, food quality. There's a thread that's running through all of these things. Mm-hmm. If you're in the bluer states of the North and the Northeast and the West, you live longer than the more religious propelled philosophies here in the South. And an exception of Florida, which only is about average, is Miami and Miami-Dade County and Broward County. And that is because of a much more bluer philosophy of services that are provided. I think it's a very interesting report by the CDC.
So we don't have to move.
No. Well.
With that, we queer up trans rights. As anti-trans violence surges, advocates demand policy reform. Tatiana Williams said she adopted her daughter Alexis Braxton about 25 years ago in Miami after the two met while doing sex work to survive. She said, quote, "It was her and a group of friends. They would come hang out. And I think they were looking for a sense of family," end quote. On February 4th, Braxton was found dead in her apartment. Miami-Dade police are investigating her death as a homicide. Detective Juan Segovia said in a February 15th statement that she was killed in a violent and vicious attack. Williams said she's devastated. She's familiar with cases like Braxton's both personally and as an advocate. She's also the executive director of Trans Inclusive Group, a nonprofit in South Florida. In 1999, her friend Pilar was murdered in front of her. Now, more than 20 years later, she's lost her adopted daughter. Braxton is one of at least 10 transgender people murdered so far in 2021, a 233% increase from this point last year, where 3 trans people had been murdered. Half of the victims so far in 2021, including Braxton, are Black trans women. The Human Rights Campaign, an LGBTQ advocacy group, has called violence against transgender people, quote, "a national epidemic," and requested in a list of policy recommendations released in November that the Biden administration form an interagency working group to address anti-transgender violence. Some suggest that the GOP onslaught of anti-trans legislation and rhetoric is actually increasing the amount of anti-trans violence the U.S. is experiencing. America is on track with a 100% increase of anti-trans violence in the first quarter of 2021 versus 2020, and more than 500% increase of 2021 versus 2011. Advocates say preventing anti-trans violence requires a comprehensive approach that spans many sectors, but it also requires governments and law enforcement to better understand the trans community. It's difficult to know with certainty how widespread violence against trans people is, in part because the government doesn't track it. That's why the National Center for Transgender Equality would like the Department of Justice to do a comprehensive study of the violence. Rodrigo Hang-Leitinen, the organization's deputy executive director, said, quote, "We are left with a patchwork of state and local information that doesn't really add up to giving us the complete picture," end quote. The center tracks trans violence and murder statistics.
You know, there's a couple of big points in this report. First off, a full stop moment, 500% increase against the trans community and violence against the trans community over the last decade. Significantly since 2017. What happens in 2017? A voice in the White House of the Oval Office, in control of the House and the Senate, and through Department of Justice and every other aspect, Department of Education, makes trans the wedge issue, to make that social issue the reason, the military, etc., why you should hate. Are voices listening to that? Well, those same voices that preach that, also the ears that heard it, went to the Capitol on January 6th. It's exactly the same thing, different topic, but it's exactly the same approach. That's the first point. The second point is the wedge issue that they're using is why we don't get a single vote on the COVID-19 pandemic bill from the Republicans in the House or Senate. Or we are likely going to get very few, if none, from the GOP on the Equality Act. The reason is it's not in their interest. They're creating a wedge issue on trans, and they're betting their election of 2022 and 2024 on it. LGBTQ has 5 letters, and 4 of them need to stand up for the T.
Wow, yes, absolutely, Al. I'm amazed at the numbers in this story. Like, it's just overwhelming. I don't have a reaction to it because it's unbelievable. The really, I guess, silver lining that we can see in this is if the DOJ does get involved, then we are able to kind of start working to address these issues.
Yes.
But the reality is that because of using this issue to create a wedge among everyone, pretty much, we're losing lives almost on a daily basis. Yeah. When you consider that these numbers are staggering, it's because we're actually losing trans women, mostly of color, Black and brown women, here on the mainland, in Puerto Rico, at alarming rates. So this kind of stuff Although used as a political ploy, the reality is that there are imminent deaths because of it. So it has to absolutely stop. And that's why we do the work that a lot of us do individually, and why we do the work that we do here on Queer News Tonight to share these stories with you.
Yeah, this is all very important. That's a good chat, guys. I like that. But we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to queer up travel. Sail the high seas with the legends of drag in 2022. Well, as all of you already know, Queer News Tonight anchor Al Ferguson knows a little bit about drag cruises. He basically performs them. He's had tens of thousands of cruisers and hundreds of RuPaul queens sail across the planet. So I can't wait to hear his thoughts about some of the legends of drag. Some of our institutional drag queens, meaning they'll break out of the institution, will escape to Holland America's 5-star luxury liner, the Kongingdam, something like that, set to sail in January 2022 from California to the Mexican Riviera, visiting gay Mecca, Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, and Cabo San Lucas. Starring Lady Bunny, Jackie Beat, Varla Jean Merman, and Coco Peru, the private chartered cruise promises an amazing collection of shows, parties, and even intimate encounters with the queens. And we aren't talking about OnlyFans intimate here, Al, unless you set that up. In addition to the queens, drag aficionado Frank DeCaro, author of the 2019 book Drag, Combing Through the Big Wigs of Show Business, will host as Master of Ceremonies. It sounds amazing, and Queer News Tonight encourages you to go to legendsofdragcruise.com for complete details. We remind you as well that we host the world's first LGBTQ travel news show anchored by Faye Watt and David Hopkins called happeningout.travel, airing Tuesdays at 8 p.m.
You know, Ty, with this story, you have me thinking. So Lady Bunny and Al are never seen at the same place at the same time.
It's true!
They're probably one and the same person.
Well, first off, as someone who has had Lady Bunny on his drag cruise, Lady Bunny and I are not the same person. And if we were going to make age jokes about the legends in drag, these 4 girls would be subject to it. Of course, they're institutional, or should be institutionalized. I always get those things confused. But how fantastic of an event these organizers are doing for the event. First off, it's exciting that LGBTQ travel is coming back. Start to think about January of 2022 and get excited about that. These are legendary queens, and it's going to be so much fun. Lady Bunny, Coco Peru has been on the RuPaul cruises, so I know we'll do a great job. Varla Jean Merman, we've worked with, and in fact has been a host here at Happening Out. And it's going to be a great event. And by the way, it's sailing from California to Mazatlan.
Okay, yeah.
It's sailing on the Koningsdam.
Okay.
That's the cruise. And I just love the fact that after getting the deep wound hit on age, that I can correct the English college professor
on his pronunciation of Spanish?
Wow.
Yeah, okay. And coming up next week on Happening Out Headlines, Al Ferguson will find another way to work in his relationship to RuPaul and drag queens.
And having had the queens, apparently.
All right, we're out of control. We're just out of control. All right, that is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the LGBTQ news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies. Queer News Tonight has been LGBTQ America's most important news source on the pandemic, as we have reported on coronavirus on every news broadcast since January 6, 2020. Tonight, we continue to report the devastating effect that coronavirus is having on the American and worldwide LGBTQ community in total cases and in total deaths. We also provide a new hope of a new light that is coming to the end of this long tunnel. As of tonight, more than 2,093,000 LGBTQ Americans have contracted COVID-19, and more than 38,000 LGBTQ Americans have died from coronavirus. But the ray of light is that as of today, more than 98 million doses of the vaccine have been administered in the United States.
So with that, we queer up quarantine quickies. Ex-President's Club, mostly, comes together to encourage vaccinations. The exclusive club of former presidents, minus its most recently inducted member, is featured in 2 national ad campaigns released Thursday that are aimed at building confidence among Americans in the coronavirus vaccines. Trump was the only living president that would not participate. His office declined to comment. Watch this.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone.
This vaccine means hope. It will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
I want to go back to work and I want to be able to move around.
To visit with Michelle's mom, to hug her and see her on her birthday.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is going to opening day in Texas Ranger Stadium with a full stadium.
We've lost enough people and we've suffered enough damage.
In order to get rid of this pandemic, it's important for our fellow citizens to get vaccinated.
I'm getting vaccinated because we want this pandemic to end as soon as possible.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
So roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot.
Now it's up to you.
Well, that's our COVID news for tonight. Next, we report that Happening Out Television Network is passionate about our support for the LGBTQ community. An example is Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership. The network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world, with more than 30,000 watching every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's totally live. We encourage you to tune in. Our campaign of sponsorship proudly supports Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
We'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living, here in Fort Lauderdale, for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible.
Finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's hotel sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ ally partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
Well, next, Queer News Tonight is proud to host our Thursday night business professional segment we are calling Network with a Q, where we will highlight and network live with local LGBTQ business leaders, individuals, and organizations from around South Florida. Tonight's segment features WMEG, Community Marketing and Events, formerly the Wilton Manors Entertainment Group. It was originally set up 6 years ago as a partnership between the City of Wilton Manors and the Wilton Manors Development Alliance to save the city's annual Stonewall Pride Festival. The nonprofit has just been rebranded with the goal of promoting South Florida and particularly Wilton Manors as a welcoming LGBTQ+ destination.
Our first guest joining us is Jeff Sterling. He's a high-profile and charismatic entrepreneur, business leader, philanthropist, and community organizer whose substantive contributions to the LGBTQ community have earned him widespread recognition and praise in South Florida. He is the chief managing partner of Sterling Holdings, a group of companies headquartered in Wilton Manors, as well as the CEO of WMEG Community Marketing and Events. Highly regarded for his business acumen, he is active in numerous other nonprofits and sits on the board of the Wilton Manors Business Association.
Our second guest is Peter Jackson. He is an entrepreneur, business strategist, and marketing veteran. His 30-year media career included serving as VP of Sales and Marketing of one of the largest privately owned media companies in the nation. He retired from media in 2009 and moved to Fort Lauderdale, where he built 3 successful fitness-related businesses in 7 years, and now focuses his energies as the president of WMEG Community Marketing and Events and publisher of Hotspots magazine.
So here to tell us more, let's please welcome CEO Jeff Sterling and President Peter Jackson of WMEG, Community Marketing Events to Network, here on Queer News Tonight. Good evening, Jeff and Peter. We're glad you're here.
Thank you very much, Al, and congratulations on your show.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Jeff, let's begin with you in terms of this unique new expansion that you've done. Of course, Sterling Accounting is well known here in South Florida, and WMEG, but it's gone through this transition and incorporation with Hotspots magazine, which is getting ready to have its 35th anniversary as the largest print media in the entire state of Florida. Tell us a little bit about this unique merging of and synergy of energy that took place at WMEG.
Well, I'm also thrilled to be here. So and WMEG has really, like you said, brought itself from something very small where we went in to try to kind of like restore Stonewall pride for the city, because every year it would fail, or every other year it'd be like starting from scratch. Wanted to put some longevity into it, some historical growth, and we did that. We started doing Art Walk and Taste of the Island, and we turned into about 40 some events a year that we execute for our community, Wilton Manors, the gay community, and all the residents that come here and the people that vacation. And recently we added expansion. We were lucky to attract Peter Jackson to come work for us, to become president of WMEG, which allowed a lot more detailed planning. We started expanding our programming, and then we had the opportunity to purchase Hotspots magazine, which is one of the best moves we have made in a while. We now can integrate all the marketing for social media and in print and those relationships with the actual events on the ground and our growth to make everything much larger and more impactful.
You know, Jeff, you mentioned Peter Jackson. Let's fold him into this conversation. You have come into the organization to focus on many of its strategic projects, including Hotspots magazine. What's it been like in this new partnership of you coming to WMEG and the creation of WMEG into WMEG? What's that been like?
Well, Al, frankly, it's a dream job, because what we get to do is boast to the world what a fabulous place we have, what an oasis we have in Wilton Manors and South Florida for the gay community. At WMEG, our goal is to use events and marketing to attract people here, to show them what a great place we have to vacation and to live here in South Florida.
Well, let's talk about some of the events that WMEG does. First off, one more note about Hotspots. 35 years. Peter, you were like, what, 6 when Hotspots started?
Actually, not quite. I was in my very early 20s, but I remember when Hotspots was launched. And to be the publisher today, the third publisher in its 35-year history, is quite an honor, and I'm humbled to be able to do that.
The celebration of a 35th anniversary of an LGBTQ publication is certainly noteworthy in 2021, because we've been through the toughest year for a print publication, any kind of print publication, but much less niche publications, which is what LGBT is. I imagine you can't wait to see the vaccines kick in and the world to return to normal for an exciting beginning of the 36th year for Hotspots.
Absolutely. But despite COVID, we have continued to publish, and we're getting stronger as vaccinations increase. Hotspots has played a vital role and continues to play a vital role in LGBT history in South Florida.
Absolutely.
That's what we do. We've connected so many businesses over the years.
Absolutely. And
so this celebration, we're going to be publishing a special commemorative issue debuting on July the 1st. And this is something that we're going to be marketing nationally because it is a significant event for an LGBT publication to cross the 3-decade mark.
Absolutely. So Hotspots is one of the projects in the new WMEG platform. As we always joke, when we started happening out now 2.5 years ago, we have always made the joke that this is the gayest place on planet Earth. And in the gayest place on planet Earth, you got to do a lot of events and activities. There's a lot of gay business. We have the world famous Wilton Drive. One of the big things that I always zero in on that WMEG and now WMEG does is Stonewall Pride. And I think we're going to show a little bit of video or some imaging on Stonewall. What are the plans for 2021 for Stonewall Pride?
This year, it's Father's Day weekend, June 19th, one day. Starts at 3 o'clock and goes to 11. But of course, after the actual event proper is over, the bars and restaurants along the drive are open till 3 o'clock in the morning. We expect to, even with the pandemic, with it wrapping up, we expect at least 20,000 people to be in attendance this year for the event. And our parade's going to be at 7 o'clock, which is getting closer to sunset, which to hope for in 2022 to actually have a sunset parade in place.
And for people that have not been to the Stonewall Pride, it comes right down Wilton Drive in the heart of Wilton Manors. In 2019, we broadcast, it's Happening Out and Happening Out Television, we broadcast the parade live. What a great experience that was. The event for 2021, you'll be one of the first Pride parades in America to roll out June 19th. You must be excited about that.
Being first is a plus and a minus. So,
right.
Unfortunately, after the terrible incident with Pulse, we were the first after that for the first Pride event. And, now we're going to lead the stage again on how can we gather in a safe way and do the things that we enjoy in a social environment, but do it safely to protect everyone. So we're really looking forward to the challenge.
Other people might not be aware, but other events, which I think is great, I've been to many times, is the Art Walk. And you bring local artists together on once a month onto Wilton Drive. And you also do the Pride Skate. I can't believe I've been here 2.5 years and I haven't been to the Pride skate, but I want to go to that at Extreme Action Park. Either one of you do the hokey pokey at your Pride skate?
I'm very dangerous on skates, but we'll have senior night coming up soon. So.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
I'm trying to be supportive of the co-hosts here.
I was going to say the hosts do it, and now the guests do it. And you have a new event, or new for me, Vibes on the Drive. Tell us, what's that about?
Vibes has been around for about 2 years now, and basically the idea is the drive. There's some days where it's not very busy and it's kind of quiet out there. So in conjunction with the city, we picked the night Wednesday evening, which is rather slow for the drive, and we put music out because we've purchased our stage quality sound system and installed it in a vehicle that can drive out to places. And so this allows us to set up quickly and put artists that won't possibly normally have stage time, local artists, to perform. And it's gotten a real positive reaction. It's 5 to 8 on the second Wednesday. And in April, we're actually going to try something new, and we want to do outdoor karaoke with it. So it's a big
excellent.
Karaoke demand in Wilton Manors.
And I just read your announcement, which I think is fantastic. This philosophy is to try to improve Wilton Manors as an LGBTQ friendly destination, including traveling here. Best Western I-95 is our partner